Okay, thanks again for joining, everyone. Today, we're going to be looking at helping service-based companies improve their customer experience. We're going to do that through CCaaS, through our contact center product. Joining us today, we've got Andrew Boone on the left. That is our Senior Manager of CCaaS Sales. And on the right, another fellow you may recognize if you've seen any of our previous webinars, that's Joe Herde, our Senior Marketing Director on the CCaaS side. So I'm just going to kick us off with a quick slide or two, and then we'll jump in. Before we go too deep into the content, I will just mention the Q&A feature. If you'll see that at the top of your screen, it looks like a little blue speech bubble, but it's got a question mark in it. We would ask that you please put your questions in that function. Reason being, it's a lot more structured than the chat function. It allows us to get to them in a nice organized way later on in the presentation. Also, as some of you have already seen, you can use emojis to tell us how you're feeling. And as I say, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, and I will be moderating as we go.
I just like that Andrew's giving an actual demonstration of what the emoji is on his face. He just demonstrated all of them. That
sign language.
Face.
You know what I was thinking of? You know when you watch I'm Canadian, right? So you know when you watch Trudeau do the COVID-19 update, and then there's someone sign languaging in French, and there's someone sign languaging in English.
Yeah, I love that.
It's quite what I feel like. I'm doing the sign language for Adam.
So for the thousands of you that are in attendance at this webinar, when Andrew is referring to the Prime Minister of Canada, in case you don't know. But and everything up here is anything public sector wise is communicated in both English and French, and also in sign language. So there's people doing very animated things. I just wish I knew how to do it, but I just I don't know how to do that stuff. Yeah,
it's true. I don't know.
What Andrew just did was mime stuff. That's the mime. That's not hand sign language.
I've got thumbs up. I've got slow golf clap. I got tears. I can pretty much communicate anything. We're good.
Alrighty. So let's jump in. Let's not keep everybody here waiting too long. What we're here to talk about today is helping service-based companies improve their customer experience with Intermedia Contact Center. So let's start off by what are we talking about? What's a service-based company? Well, the good news is that we're surrounded by them, literally. We try to generalize in terms of any company that's outside of a major vertical like healthcare, financial, education, government, etc. But they're far and wide, and we just listed a few there: restaurants, food and beverage, legal firms, ad agencies, marketing companies, auto dealers, used or new, retail company. We're surrounded by retail companies, but both traditional brick and mortar stores and online. Technical services, anything from IT to appliance repairs. So this is everybody from people who do refrigerator repair to people who fix your networks. Construction services, realty companies, and pretty much any SMB, small to medium business that you could think of. Now that the SMB itself is also wide, depending on where you are. It could be a one-man shop. It could be a 100-man shop. It just depends. But what we're trying to draw a parallel with here is that we're focusing on anybody that offers a service of some type, right? Because the needs are very common. Why are we lumping all these folks in one bucket? Because all their needs are super common, and you will see that as we go through here.
Surprisingly common. Surprisingly
common. Now, Adam has created a tremendous amount of polls in here. Yes. And we love the polls. We love the poll action because we're seeing other folks using it. Peter Cachet, who's on this call, he sold us the idea. I just want to acknowledge him because if I don't, he's going to remind me, hey, why don't you call my name? I told you about the polls. Why don't you tell people about it? So yeah, Peter, good stuff. Get away from me now. Now, let's see what we have here. What verticals do you have CCaaS prospects in?
Oh, thumbs down from Pete. Shouldn't have done that.
So what does that mean? So what verticals that you're associated with, customers in your backyard that fit in one of those service-related verticals that we've included in here? And we kind of lumped a few of them together, like legal and technical services. That one's pretty. Those two couldn't be any different, but no, obviously
there are only 5 options. Yes.
Yeah, obviously. But no, it's good to kind of get an idea.
That's great. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. I think we're good there.
Okay, we're good there. All righty. Let's move on. So why do these guys need contact center, right? So we gave you a whole list of different companies that fall into this segment, into service-based companies. So why do they need contact center? Well, because of some of these reasons here. These are some of the things that they would have in common. They would have a need to handle billing inquiries or general inquiries, anything to do with billing. They would have to provide customer service or customer support. They may need to do technical support and help desk type stuff. They may want to automate appointments and scheduling. There's they might want to do some customer outreach, and there's a whole bunch of different use cases for customer outreach. We know about that. Self-service customer service using IVRs, self-serve IVRs. It certainly will reduce the amount of calls that go to actual human beings. Live chat support. What am I missing here, Andrew and Adam?
You're not missing a ton, but I think the common theme here is, obviously these are people that deal with the public. And I will say not all of these folks will consider themselves a contact center, right? Like some folks will be like, yeah, well, I have 3 people in my finance department that handle billing questions from customers. They might not consider that that is a billing queue or a billing, contact center, but the features and functions we bring to the table to help them solve some of the problems they're going to go through still apply to them, even if it's like 1 or 2 people or 1,000 people. And I think that's really the important. They're not all considered contact centers or call centers, but they do have these departments and they do deal with the public.
Right. So credit to Adam. Adam actually wrote a very nice blog and also a white paper called "The Phone Is Now Your Front Door." As much as I like to pretend that this came from me, I'm not that creative. I'm not that smart either. Good. So yeah, just gonna acknowledge Adam. The phone is now the front door, and I want you to think about that statement. It's a pretty loaded statement. In fact, you know what? I'm going to pass the mic over to Adam. I don't want to take away the spotlight because this all came from your wonderful blog. Why don't you walk us through this thought process, this new normal, this new reality?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate that, Joe. You know what? And we'll get into this later on. There are a lot of drivers for this new paradigm, right? So it's a category we call external events, and we'll touch on that. But the reality is, listen, we all know over the last few months, business models that have been tried and true for years, in some cases decades, or even over a century. We've got a couple cases here where companies have been in business for over 100 years. They've gone from business as usual to we no longer can see what the future holds, and everything has to happen over the phone, not because that's our choice necessarily, but because that's the way it's got to be. So then that leads us into some questions, right? Like, if you're not used to that paradigm, if you're not used to most of the business being conducted that way, how do you know you're going to be able to meet demand? How do you stay flexible? How do you stay scalable when you don't know what the future holds? It's not like you can prepare for one specific outcome. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. So how do you do that? How do you know when your customers are no longer present in person, when you can't see them, talk to them, if that's your usual, MO? How do you know you're delivering a great experience? How do you quantify that, right? If you've never done that before.
It's scary if you don't know. It's true.
Sure. It's a massive unknown, right? Like, you don't even know. It goes back to that classic Donald Rumsfeld speech about unknown unknowns, right? You don't even know what you don't know.
That's true.
So a lot of companies are moving to UCaaS solutions, partly to address that, partly to decentralize their phone systems, but they're also using CCaaS to decentralize their ability to handle customer interactions. And that seems like a weird statement. At first, you may say, well, why would you want to, decentralize that? Well, you want to physically decentralize it. You don't want it all concentrated in what Joe likes to refer to as the windowless room, sequestered away in area 1B of the building. No, what you want to do, you want the ability and the software and the visibility centralized, but the physical aspect decentralized. And that's exactly what CCaaS lets you do in terms of visibility, in terms of reporting, in terms of monitoring, insight, and a lot more things that we'll cover here.
And so when you're making this decision, right? Adam, this is brilliant stuff. When someone is making this decision, one of their big considerations, I think, and you alluded to this, is making the software future-proof. Don't buy something that's end of life, right? Buy something that's going to take you into the next 10 years and grow with you. As Adam said, as these, as our interactions with customers change, and the way we interact with customers change, we need to make sure we have the software that can change with it.
Precisely.
So we talked about, we want to take a deep dive on understanding the concept of why the phone is now the front door. Now we're going to understand what's driving this accelerated move. So we talked about what's happening. Now we're going to understand why this is happening. External events. Well, we don't need to talk too much about that. Everybody's now an expert on what an external event is. You can't put the news on and not be engulfed with that external event, right?
Yeah.
Unforeseen developments can alter business reality overnight. We have been, we've been altered overnight for the past few months, and with no end in sight.
Yeah.
So what we're going through now is forced business continuity, and nothing brings that to the table more than a cloud solution, right? Future proofing. So the whole idea here is on flexibility, right? So okay, we're preparing to we're allowing people to work from home. What next? Suppose they have to come back to the office. Suppose some people have to move as a result of this. I got to move to another city because my company is moving for whatever reasons. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. So by future proofing the infrastructure that you depend on most in terms of your phone infrastructure, your contact center infrastructure, future proofing it in terms of it doesn't matter what the needs are. The new system can allow for it. We could work from home. We could work in the office. We could work from another city. We could work in another country. All that's possible thanks to the inherent benefits of the cloud. Multi-channel needs. So you heard Adam talk about just now. Okay, well, now that the phone is the front door, and companies are now having to deal with this new normal of only handling business over the phone and other channels, there's an increased need for those other channels in addition to the phone, SMS, email, chat, social, etc. And some of these companies that are using on-prem or older infrastructure can't make that jump. And the heading that we have there, what is driving this accelerated move? That's one of the key ones right there, because they're on dated equipment. They may have been thinking about, we want to move to the cloud, but this is working okay. Well, guess what? The external event that we're surrounded by right now has turned that into an obsolete, chunk of metal on a rack, right? And now we got the last one here is, what's driving this? The need for added insights. So now that you're handling interactions across all these different channels, phone, SMS, etc., the need to derive insights from those channels and know what volumes of people are calling in on one as opposed to the other, what they're calling in about, and so forth. That's data that you could use to drive business decisions.
So it's a funny story, Joe. I've been reading some articles recently, and it's kind of counterintuitive, so I want to share it. But during this pandemic, apparently voice interactions have increased dramatically. And the theory is people just have more time on their heads, so they're okay sitting on hold and talking to people. But I've been exclusively, and I mean exclusively, harassing my vendors, people that I buy services from via SMS and chat. I love SMS interactions. I love sending Bell Canada a text that something is amiss and then ignoring their reply for 4 days and then sending my reply. I just, I love challenging the system a little bit, but that's me. Joe, you might have I know you're a gram guy, so you might prefer to maybe interact with your vendors on the gram, but that's the point, right? If you don't have these channels available, I'm certainly not going to call Bell Canada and complain. I'm just moving, right? I'm just,
yeah, it's true. I enjoy interacting with all 3 of my Instagram followers. I'll just have you know that.
Fair enough. We should start promoting it on these calls. I mean, we'll get some.
Yes, it's true. Maybe we'll get some more. Yeah, if any of you folks out there like car photos, I know a good Instagram channel for you. All right. So the next few slides are going to talk about how CCaaS has helped insert word here, right? And that's the theme. We're going to talk about restaurants. We're going to talk about wholesale and distribution. We're going to talk about healthcare. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different entities in this multi-vertical service-based webinar. So we're going to start off telling the story about restaurants. And this is a very, very interesting one, because the common story here is that they're transitioning from dine-in to takeout. And I could have a perfect, you can't look around and not see the reality of this. Yesterday, I had to take a 5-kilometer walk to go and pick up my car because I had to get my car I broke my radiator because I was playing Speed Demon, right? So I cracked my radiator. I was stunt racing from Wendy's to home. That's what was happening. So coming on, broke my radiator, cracked my radiator, and take my car into service. I walked 5 kilometers to get it. Now, as I'm walking by, I'm passing.
How long is a kilometer for those US based? A mile is 2.2 kilometers. So Joe really only walked 2 miles. Just saying.
It was It was a hell of an ordeal for me. I'll tell you that right now. I'm still sore. Anyway,
dude, I'd be out of breath as well.
it was an incredible experience. But what I also saw on the way there was a whole bundle of restaurants, the same restaurants I normally drive by, dozens of them, and they were all they all closed to the public except for except for their takeout, and they had all their signs and everything, so that you could and even those that don't have a takeout window, because some restaurants are not built to accommodate a takeout, they have
Do
pickup
curbside.
outside. They have
Yeah.
they've implemented all these processes to allow you to also buy food, but allow them to also keep in some form of business, to keep their doors open in some way.
Keep their employees
Uh,
staffed.
so this right here, transitioning from dine-in to takeout, I mean, this is one of the most powerful cases of their phone becoming their front door, right? People are calling in, and they're calling in through different channels. All the different channels we talked about just now, they're receiving orders on tablet, on whatever, right? And some of these things here is how we're making that possible. We're ensuring all calls are answered, because lost calls equal lost revenue. It doesn't get more real than that.
And people got to eat. I don't know about you guys, but waiting 2 hours to get in the grocery store is not acceptable. Ordering
Yep.
food from a restaurant is acceptable, in my opinion, and more convenient. But you know what's funny about this story, Joe? And you and I didn't talk about this ahead of time, obviously, but there was a large restaurant chain that's really big on selling hot dogs in the Northeast that actually converted to our service and went live about a month or two before COVID, just at the end of last year. And they did it to really take advantage of takeout and delivery. And so they were ahead of the curve a little bit. They had adopted us. They'd replaced their Cisco phones. They basically made the software work for them in their existing environment. The second this pandemic hit, they were one of the first chains that we dealt with that obviously went completely remote, completely cloud, transitioned wholly into a delivery and takeout role. And I'm not going to use their name. There's going to be, I'm guaranteed, there will be stories written about this org for their quick reaction on the retail side once this is all over, because their stock price is going to go through the roof. But the whole point, and I tell this story because their competitors are dead in the water. Their competitors, as Joe was saying, like, we all know restaurants that have scrambled, and we know restaurants that are failing and closed that'll never return. These guys, and it's not for any foresight or any premonition that they had, obviously, but the timing of them going cloud-based with our software was so perfect, and they are absolutely reaping all of the benefits, because who doesn't like a hot dog? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I want a hot dog right now.
I'm dying to get a few hot dogs right now. Maybe 6 would do the job for me right now.
Back to Harvey's for you. That's another Canadian name drop for you guys. So
yeah.
what did we do for those guys, Joe? We did
Tell
their
me.
IVR. We did an advanced IVR. We can now route calls by location.
What's an IVR for those folks that don't know? What's an IVR?
An IVR is an interactive voice response. What does it do? It's the thing that you talk to. Hey, thanks for calling. Press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. That's the IVR.
Yeah.
And so by using that intelligent routing of our IVR in the cloud, we're able to keep their stores open. We're able to route calls at different locations. Even agents working from home were able to take orders. They were able to coordinate and organize curbside pickup, also takeout windows, et cetera, et cetera. But it doesn't work unless you have a cloud-based system that can support, right? And these guys, again, moving from a legacy Cisco, we're not able to unplug those phones and bring them home with them, right? They needed something cloud-based. So we were able to be there in advance, and there's going to be case studies written about these guys once this thing all dies off, because they're just tremendously successful.
So Andrew talked about the IVRs. The automated greetings kind of fall into that category. Other ways that we help them is real-time metrics, because remember, there's a large volume of calls now coming in. So the real-time metrics on calls in queue, wait time, abandoned calls, and other things will also help that restaurant owner or restaurant management know, okay, well, we have a problem here. We're missing this amount of calls. That's translating to X amount of lost revenue and so forth. And also monitoring and improving customer satisfaction, because they may have some folks that are inundated with these phone calls, and they may be getting tired and getting a little snappy at people, right? So you want to be able to coach, and we have there's no end of coaching tools and stuff that's available. But also on the surveys, we didn't even talk about the survey side. There's also surveys that can be done, right?
Absolutely, at the end of every call. The big thing for these guys, because they had so many locations, each location wanted to have their own controls over the IVR. They had their own specials. They had their own hours of operation. They had their own pickup times. They have their own delivery times. And so when you got 70 locations, it's difficult to manage those as individual ad hocs, and corporate needed oversight. So all of the things you said are important, but to deliver it at the individual store level with that corporate oversight, right? With the Chicago location can insert a special for 2-for-1 hot dogs. Not everybody will have that. Or the Maryland location was shutting down early because of COVID, and they wanted people to know. Also, the ability to send out a message, hey, Mr. Customer, your order's ready for pickup in 15 minutes. What? Can you imagine getting that text, right? Like, I'm just all over this stuff. It's all of these little features, right, that help keep these guys alive. Get me off my soapbox.
All right, so we're going to switch gears to local service providers. And this could be your local internet provider, your cable TV provider, utilities, and there's other companies that fall into this bracket as well. You know who else falls into this bracket? Financial, actually. As I look through all these things here, any credit unions, small financial services companies, what we're helping these folks do is transition their customer service from in office to remote. And in this one particular case, we did quite a job for a regional ISP, small ISP in what is it, Wyoming? It's Iowa, Wyoming, one of those.
It's Iowa.
There you go, Iowa.
Iowa. Yes. I mean, we've done this for a bunch of them, right? But these are these are customer facing staff, right? Customer service, billing. It's tech support. It's
exactly.
Outages.
In the case of an ISP, that customer service team is going to be multi-focused, and Andrew is rattling them off: tech service, provisioning, service delivery, billing. Well, Andrew and I spent almost 20 years in telco, so this is our formal world, right?
It's true. Complaints, right?
Yeah.
Nothing earth-shattering letting these guys work remotely, but it's just an example of an industry, a service-related industry that we're talking about here that needs to stay up. I can't imagine not being able to get tech support from my ISP, COVID or not, right? Like, I mean, my internet isn't working, or I'm experiencing a delay, or if I want to pay a bill. You cannot shut down for 2 months if you're in this industry. These are essential services, actually. So obviously, everything we do to remote enable people applies. Insert all of the features here, but there's actually more than one use case here that we can rattle off a dozen. I think that fit into this.
There's so many
in the last couple of months.
But what we thought would be instructive for this purpose is to list some of these things that these companies were using, right? So predictive call flows for routing, detailed reporting. We go deeper than most folks, or anybody for that matter.
Cradle to grave.
What's that?
Cradle to grave reports.
Cradle to grave, exactly. Custom reports. We don't even charge for custom reports.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Real-time data displays that can be accessed remotely. Multi-channel communications. We talked about all the channels before. Interactive menus. Andrew talked about the IVRs and all that stuff. Real-time alerts on important metrics. Whatever, and you determine what those are. Whatever you want them to be. Whatever you want your important metrics to be. Real-time alerts on those. And integrations with what was that?
I was going to say, we built a payment IVR. You mentioned that are process secure payments. We built a payment IVR for the one you're thinking of, and 30% of their customers, when they call in to make a payment, just do it themselves in the self-serve IVR. They don't need to speak to an agent. Imagine 30% of your calls never have to be handled by an agent. It's a pretty extreme number, but again, you're calling in to pay a bill, which a lot of it is incredible. I prefer to do it that way every time. Now, I don't know why they don't do online banking, but that's a whole other conversation.
Paul, Adam, what do we have for us?
Drum roll. Can't hear it because of the noise canceling. Let me turn that drum back on.
Of the prospects from earlier, what would you say are the sizes?
No right or wrong answer here. This is a poll, right?
Yeah, exactly. We just want to know what your thoughts are.
I don't want to get the wrong answer. That's all.
Of the prospects from earlier, what would you say are the sizes, and what prospects were we talking about? Adam, walk us through the prospects that we were talking about earlier to remind the folks.
Well, we talked about the different, and they were inelegantly grouped. That's right. We kind of lumped them together because we only had 5 choices. But broadly speaking, if we think of those verticals or those industries or those niches, in there, what do those deals potentially look like? So this is good. We're getting some good data.
And you know what? They're good data and some intelligent answers. This is why we like having these webinars to talk with our intelligent partners, and maybe we could learn something the same way you guys are, right?
Well, if we wanted to learn something, we would let them talk back, which we don't. That's why we do webinars.
That's because Adam doesn't like Adam is the one to set that up. I don't know why he does it like that. Adam, what's wrong with you?
It's not possible.
But for those of you that are still voting, remember, supervisors, managers, IT people, they don't need licenses in our software. Only the agents do. So that 12 to 25 could be 10 to 12. You know what I mean? And that's just really a sales tip for you guys, because it's a differentiator, and I wanted to work it into the webinar. But it's a real thing, right? I'm going to name drop 5.9 and 8x8 and Ring Central. You got to have a license for everything. You need you want to log in and run a report, you need a license. You want to run a dashboard, you need a special license. You're an administrator, you need an extra super special license.
But you know what you folks should think about, right? I'm going to rewind here. You should be thinking, do I know any restaurants? Do I have any customers that are restaurants that might need some of this help? Here's some of the ways that we can help them. We're going to make this deck available to you guys after, as always. And the like a nice little homework project could be, I know some restaurant customers. I'm going to call my boys up and see, hey, have you how successful is your takeout operation? Have you fully transitioned? And then start name dropping some of these things, like pretend like you know, even if you don't know, hey, do you have real-time metrics to measure your calls in queue? They're going to be like, since when do you get so smart? But just throw these things in there, right? We're helping you become a contact center expert, right? Same for this. And this one's loaded. This is not just utilities and internet. This could be your neighborhood credit union for all we know, right? They're going to use the same things here.
One of the major power companies here in Ontario, Northern Ontario. Again, I'm Canadian, totally. This is another story there, but again, they had our software and they were able to remote enable their staff to work remotely. And I mean, this is a power company. This is a utility. They need to, obviously, power is critical. It's an essential service, right? So the fact that they were able to take everybody, transplant them into a remote location, which is their basement, and not lose a beat of customer satisfaction or experience, I think that's an incredible thing. It's almost like, obviously we're going to get to it later. It's like when a hospital takes your service and goes remotely. Wow, if it's good enough for that hospital, it's got to be good enough for my mom and pop pizza shop down the street, right?
Right. Speaking about mom and pop pizza shops,
baked goods. I misunderstood this one.
I just brought up some recent wins, but we've done a whole bunch of retail style food companies and wholesale distributors. But this particular one here, I enjoyed, and I thought we would add it to the mix. So, Adam, this is based in where again? Georgia? Yes,
I believe that's right.
Yes, memory is not bad. I might be getting old, but the memory's still there. It's like my power. When I used to be a professional boxer, I'm just joking. I was watching Rocky last night, Rocky 5, where they said the power is the last to go. Anyway, I'm a dreamer. Anyway, optimizing efficiencies for growth even during challenging times. The reason why I said that, funny that you mentioned the mom and pop pizza shop. This was a family-founded bakery.
Yeah.
And they have now expanded to encompass almost 90% of the U.S. population. They started off as a family-founded bakery. Adam, what type of baked goods are we talking about here?
I think it's quite a range, but yeah, their reach via, and credit to the sales team here for helping bring in the details on this win. Their range through their delivery network is, I think, 80 to 85% of the entire U.S. population, and sales are what, Joe? $4 billion a year. That is astronomical.
Who are you guys talking about? Now you're making me hungry.
We'll do that offline.
Yeah. But the real question is, does this baked goods company sell croissant? And then now, guys, for the thousands of you on the call right now, again, we're from Canada. And up here, we don't call. So I'm not. I'm from Trinidad, just so you guys know. That's why I sound kind of ridiculous.
I thought you were Welsh.
I'm Welsh. Yeah, exactly. So there's something called croissant. I know. I called it a croissant until I moved up here, and then all of a sudden it became croissant.
Croissant. Nobody says that. Right? I don't know what you're talking about. Nanaimo bar. You had me at Nanaimo bar.
We had French guys working here that said croissant. I'm going to say croissant. Okay. All right. So here's some of the things that we help this company do, right? To expand to a $4 billion company. And you might be realizing a pattern here. If you take a look at everything highlighted in green, real-time reports, routing, blah, 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 and think about it. Some of that stuff is here too with the service provider. Hey, some of that stuff is over here with restaurants too. It's the whole point. everybody in this service-based bucket, they have very similar needs. In the case of this one here, they needed real-time reports. We talked about why before. People need reports for all sorts of different things. They were able to detect and eliminate high volumes of abandoned calls. Again, lost calls, lost revenue. Leverage recordings to identify reasons for highly variable call durations. I remember reading that they were seeing calls vary between, what was it, Adam? 5 minutes to 90 minutes?
1 and 90 minutes.
90. So if you're on a 90-minute phone, you're on the phone for an hour and a half talking about how long it's going to take me to transport your hot dog buns from Georgia to Seattle. We have a serious problem here, right?
You have a serious baked good problems if you're spending 90 minutes on a call. But that instant scalability and bursting was a big deal, right, Joe? Because those guys doubled and tripled their seat capacity 2 or 3 times a year during the busy season.
That's right.
And the ability to add that on demand just for 1 month and go back to your original seats, it's not something you can do typically in the industry, especially now with an on-prem system. So obviously scalability gives them cost control, cost certainty when they have those, ebbs and flows of a call center.
That's right. And they also liked how easy the solution was. They talked about how easy it was to add smooth changes, how easy it was to update the IVRs. I really like hearing that, because this would all be good. This would all be for nothing if it was very difficult to use. We could have the most sophisticated thing ever, but if it's so hard to use, and this is a waste of time, right?
That already exists. It's called Genesis.
There you go. Absolutely.
Boom. Let's send this copy of this file over to Genesis.
We need to we need to get Peter Cache on in these webinars to do the musical sound effects like the.
Next time.
All right. So we're switching gears again. We're going to talk about airlines and travel, and in this case, we're keeping these anonymous because we're not at liberty to share. Or we can do it on a one-on-one basis, but we're not at liberty to share. what some of these folks have been doing. But this one is a private jet company. This is another big. This is another big. Big enough company. But we were helping them to remote enable their workforce while maintaining high service standards. Now think about this: the private jet companies out there, and there's not just one private jet company in the whole world. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're all competing for business. And how are they separating? How are they differentiating themselves? Customer experience, VIP service, all that stuff, right? So this is very important.
Helicopters won't. They're promising their helicopters and planes won't crash as well. This is that's a big difference. Is it too soon? Sorry. All right, moving on.
Come on, man.
I've been at home. I've been at home for like 2 months straight. I'm going stir crazy. Look at the shirt I'm wearing. I can't be trusted.
I thought it was Madeline PI over there.
This one, Joe, is a great example of the line that I think both sales and marketing really like, which is, how do you tell a $10 call from a $10,000 one? And in this case, I believe there aren't really flights under $2,000. So it's crucial to know, is this a VIP individual, high net worth individual calling? Is it someone calling for a fleet service is it someone calling for a charter? Like that was so critical here, as I understood it.
Yes, absolutely. That is why they wanted to have all this VIP service standards of service maintained. They wanted to be able to classify the calls to identify the VIP customers, to do exactly what Adam just said. They wanted to differentiate somebody calling in for they want to differentiate people like me, right? So I just saved up $2,000 to take one flight from Toronto to Ottawa, right?
You can stay on hold.
Ottawa. I saved all my money to go and do this. They want to differentiate callers like me, as opposed to callers like, hey, this is so and so calling. I'd like to do a round the world trip, and what it's going to cost $500,000. Okay, make it 3. I'd like to have 3 of those, please. They want to differentiate those types of calls.
Yeah, if you're a black card customer and you got 6 billion, travel miles, you are VIP. I'm thinking Up in the Air with George Clooney.
Exactly, Up in the Air. That's right. That's right.
How do you know?
Firing.
There you go.
So the other thing about these guys that's worthy of mention is that they were also nationwide. So they had multiple sites, and they were using geo-routing rules to direct calls to local staff in those offices, in those regions. Isn't that amazing? Pretty much everything that we offer, they used.
Can I tell you one thing? This is not actually a positive. This is a negative, but it's a semi-positive. That the customer that we were talking about in the airline rental industry, right? That particular vendor, obviously they've downsized dramatically during this pandemic, and because people aren't flying, so people aren't booking. I think it's natural. I mean, they're maintaining a semblance, so they were able to reduce their seat count with us temporarily. We just hey, listen, we don't need 300. Let's reduce it down to 100. That does not exist anywhere else in the world, where you can go to Cisco or Avaya or Genesis and say, hey guys, hey, listen, I'm not going to use some of these licenses this month. You mind giving me a credit? I mean, like, obviously I'm laughing outwardly and inside, but that's really the reality of it. And so it's a bit of a negative, but this is how we helped. We helped them by allowing them to reduce their costs during the pandemic so they can stay whole. I mean, there's, obviously there's we're telling the other side of the story, but this is also a very important version of the story.
It's also important, yeah. And you know what? Should things take a turn, and we hope it will, and COVID goes away, and the economy turns around, and everybody's liquid again, and they see a surge in business, they're going to be able to scale up as quickly as they scale down.
And I think that goes back to that concept, and that's, I agree, Andrew, it's not necessarily negative, but back to that principle of how do you prepare for something you don't know? Well, you build in flexibility, you build in scalability. That's all you can do. That's your best option,
Agreed.
Future-proofing with flexibility. Hey, future-proofing with flexibility. Adam, you see, I'm good for some of these taglines, man. What's wrong with you? Okay.
Just make them up.
Health and social services. This is just massive. And we just thought we would zone in on one particular, because I mean, we have a whole different session on selling into healthcare. Healthcare is so big, we have a whole different webinar on that, right? But we're just going to talk about, this one is aimed at the smaller ones, the corner doctor office, things like that. Smaller. We may have a couple different branches. This is not at the municipal level, but we like I said, we have a different training for that. But enabling telehealth and remote care for even the smallest health service entities. Again, we're letting you know that this solution is not only for the big, massive LA counties and New York Presbyterians and Saskatchewan Health and all. This is not just for those. This is for Dr. Boone down the road over there, right? It's one-man shop. He could start enabling some of this as well. IVR menus to help direct patients to departments or individual staff members or doctors. Skills-based routing. We talked about that. Callback functions for when things are busy. I called. Okay, I can't wait for half an hour, but my place in line is going to be held. I hang up the phone, and when it's my turn, my phone rings. Right?
Yep. Automatically connected. By the way, I mean, telehealth is something that's been around forever, but right now it is taking like it used to be.
Yeah.
You only have like one of those Skype calls with your doctor if you were trying to get like your marijuana prescription renewed at some point. Now it's like everybody gets telehealth. You know what I mean? You go to your pharmacist. You got you want to get a flu shot. The guy is there. You give him your history. I love it. This is something that I was closely involved with in this particular deal, and I know that again these guys were around pre-COVID and have stayed completely whole and increased their seat count post-COVID, or during COVID, I should say, to help deal with all of the influx of calls. But imagine retired healthcare professionals, right? Nurses, doctors, part-time practitioners, EMT, frontline workers that in their downtime, they log into these queues and they provide telehealth medicine and support to people in rural communities who can't get out of their house. And so anyway, it's something near and dear to my heart. I love it. But I mean, it's just, obviously this is one of those things that's not going to go away. Once we get back to whatever level of normalcy is coming.
That's right. It's not going to go away. And cloud, like Andrew was saying, telehealth is not a new thing. It's been around, but cloud makes it better. Mm-hmm. Because now people who are like the whole rural scenario that Andrew just talked about, you could be in the middle of nowhere, and you may not have any local healthcare facilities immediately within your environs. It might take too long for you to go and get some sort of help. You could call up this number and someone can be answering you from the heart of the city or from another country for all that matters, right?
Also, if you're not sick enough, you shouldn't go to the hospital, the doctor right now. It's not a good time.
You might get sicker, exactly. So, so telehealth has really just been enhanced with the power of cloud contact center. So again, the main message here is we have features for all sizes of healthcare entities, health service entities, and the full gamut. Every mental health, it doesn't even matter. Everything, right? I just said mental health because sometimes I think I'm a little crazy, but let's move on. Pharmacies, right? Now, these guys, this could be your local pharmacy on the corner of the street. This could be a multi-site pharmacy. It could be pharmacy franchise. It could be, all sizes. We've been helping these guys remote enable their customer interactions in as little as 2 days. Mm-hmm. And we're doing that with things like self-serve automation, intelligent call routing. Again, you realize that some of these things are popping up again because, like I said, everybody in the service-based industries, they're using this stuff, right? Outreach features, to let people know that you got your stuff to pick up, reminding you about your renewals. Our special this month is hand sanitizer. I wish, right?
We'll deliver it immediately.
We'll deliver it immediately. Yeah. So again, any stories here, Dr. Boone?
Well, I mean, the feature and this is a pretty unique use case. I'm not going to blab the pharmacy name, but their problem was they didn't want their pharmacist taking calls. When people call in for directions or to renew their prescription, they're like, man, it's like 80% of our calls and I want my pharmacist, counting out the drugs, delivering the goods kind of thing. So we came up with a plan to use our feature, dynamic notifications, which has been, for outreach, which has been listed in almost every use case that we've talked about. And basically it happens like this. You get a call that says, hello, Andrew. Your prescription for Xanax is available. Press 1 to accept. Press 2 if you're feeling anxious. I'm just kidding. And if I press 1 to accept, it actually says, I can confirm it. I authenticate in the IVR, and then they deliver my drugs, right? That comes to me in the mail from the pharmacist. Now I do all of that without ever having to speak to a live human. There's another option on their IVR. Hey, when you call in, press 1 for directions and hours of operation. And we're able to offload each individual location, offload a percentage of calls that would normally go to the pharmacist. We'd have to say, yep, we're open till 6. I can see him rolling his eyes. Yep, no, come on in, Mrs. Smith, we're open till 6. Yep, for sure. Your prescriptions. Yep, no, absolutely. You can just imagine the annoyance of that call. Now you can just get it automated. You can even have a request the directions be texted to you on your mobile phone from the IVR. So cool little use cases, but the overarching theme is they wanted to restrict or reduce the amount of customer interactions these pharmacists were having, obviously, and they're high value interactions. And these guys are paid a lot of money. And giving people directions on how to get to your location is not the best way to spend their time. Yeah. So a good little story, which I think is obviously something that should be applied everywhere. I love renewing my prescription for Xanax. Is that a real thing, Xanax? I hear it on TV all the time. What does it do?
I know.
It is a thing. No.
I don't know.
I'm sure in Canada it's called something else. But in the US it's Xanax. But anyway, the point being, right? Like that having that anonymity as well. Like sometimes again, if you have an embarrassing prescription you want to renew, talking to the pharmacist can be a little bit embarrassing, right? Do price check please for that. Anyway, so having that anonymity was also something I thought was pretty comforting as well.
Yep, absolutely. What else do we have in here? Okay, so we talked about. I'm going to rewind here just for extra impact, right?
I'm gonna have a seizure, man. Don't do it.
I know.
Fast.
We talked about restaurant. I don't know if we have another poll. Adam, do we have another poll coming up before the end?
Or any questions?
Quick one.
Oh, a poll.
Quick one. Okay. So, but before we get to that, I haven't seen the polls, so there's a huge surprise, right? So I'm going to surprise each time poll comes up. But what I want you guys to think of is think about some of these topics we talked about before. And don't worry, we're going to make this available to you. And a highly annoying individual by the name of Peter Cachet is going to call to help you. No, just kidding. He's a good friend of ours. At least we have to make him think so. But he's going to call and going to reach out to you guys and see, hey, did you guys get what you needed from that webinar? Do you have any folks you want me to help call on your behalf? Any restaurant customers? Peter knows all these different things here. He knows all the different features on the pain points. Do you have any service providers in your customer base you want to try to help upsell CCaaS to? And same, it does not just have to be baked goods. Any wholesaler, any distributor.
I still don't know how you came up with baked goods. I'm still confused.
I just like saying it, baked goods. How often do we get to talk about baked goods in these webinars, right?
We just don't. I made some banana bread on the weekend.
Next time I'm going to put croissant. I'm just going to croissant. CWASSOW, croissant. Okay.
I love it.
Airlines and travel, health and so just think about if you have anybody in these different verticals, different segments that would be a good target for this stuff, right? Pharmacy, everybody knows the pharmacies, but the whole point we're bringing around full circle is CCaaS can help every single vertical niche and segment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All these companies have one thing in common. They all have customers. And right now, thanks to the external environment, external situation, they all have teams to remote enable, and we can help them do that. Some may have low seat orders. It might be 2 seats, 3 seats, 5 seats. But you know what? They all add up. In the past 3 weeks, We sold over 500 CCAS seats to over 50 companies.
It's
right?
crazy, and they're all live.
This stuff adds up, and they're all live. This stuff adds up.
emergencies.
It adds up quickly, and remember, this is monthly recurring revenue. This is rolling around every month for you, right? And there's nothing more secure than that.
And
So
Joe, if someone's not sure if they think that this customer fits into any one of these verticals, a great little tip, a little trigger to look at. Do they have a toll-free number? Because nobody's paying for a toll-free number to let customers call them unless those calls are important to them.
Yes,
and if those calls are important to you, then you probably need some sort of contact center solution. Yeah. I mean, I know toll-free, it's an old hat and we don't even like to talk about it, but it's a really nice trigger, right? You got anyone down the street that advertise, or anybody in the yellow pages that advertises a toll-free number and who's in the service industry, has customers, probably puts a value on that call, and you could certainly tap into that value.
That's right. And don't forget, we're here to help you win. Right, you're looking at Magnum PI over there. He might look funny. He might look funny, but that guy over there, that guy has done over 1,000 demos last year. He has like a 73.67895% close rate, right?
Approximately,
right? He leads the demo desk. This guy knows this product inside out, right? We got Peter, who's laughing up a storm behind the scenes. He works for. He's a business development rep. He's going to help call all several thousands of you that are on this call right now. He's going to call all of you. Beware.
I hope so. He's not developing any business on this call. That's for sure.
Exactly, right? So you have a whole overlay organization here, right? One thing we like our partners to know, that you have a whole overlay organization here on the CCAS side to help you win, right? CCAS sales specialists, demo lords, you got marketing geniuses in Adam and I. You got business development reps like Peter, right? There's a whole bunch of us. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So
we're really humble too.
Adam, boom. What do we have here? Take us
perfect lead in cover, Joe.
A show of hands from those who would like sales and marketing support. Look at that.
Now, you know what?
So good way to end. Good way to
one
end.
and one. So most people aren't going to know what that means, and so rather than you tooting your own horn, Joe, let me tell people what this entails.
Tell them.
For the last 5 years, we've been doing nothing but helping partners sell this product to their customers. That has been our exclusive and main focus, pre and post COVID Intermedia. So what you got is a full suite of email marketing, outbound campaigns, content for your website, collateral for your agents, use cases and case studies that you can share, demo request forms that you can embed on your website that'll pull in the right resources, as well as all of the individual sales and marketing help that we give you to co-sell and co-market with you from an authenticity perspective. So it is really the full gamut. We don't want to own your customers. We just want you to tell your customers about this product so that they can benefit from it. Is that direct? That's pretty direct, right? Yeah.
That's pretty direct. It's pretty direct, and there is no shortage of assistance on that side. We got collateral that would make you just want to cry. It's so good. It's so good. It makes you want to cry. I'm telling you, it makes me cry all the time because it's so good.
Hearing you talk about it. No, I really am.
Success cases, white papers, data sheets, use case documents, sell sheets, blogs, web content. If you know, it's listen. I'm telling you, it's crazy. It really is. So tap into it. Tap into the massive library that exists on this side for you. Tap into it, right?
Leverage our experience.
You guys know about the partner portal. You know, you guys got we got campaign in a box stuff inside there. If any of you logged in last week, you would have seen Mark Creamer on the channel marketing side walking through how to access all that. If you have any questions, no problem. We could put you in front of the right folks. And there's lots of help available to you, and we're more than that. That's what we're here for. Like Andrew said, we've been doing this for the past 5 years. We know channel, right? And that's what we're here to do. Support you folks.
I appreciate
any questions.
Almost 200 people stuck around, so it's fantastic. We really appreciate all of the heavily attendance. It's good stuff. Thank you for giving us your time. Even though we all know that you're just sitting in your basement with nothing to do. Come on, tell the truth.
You know what?
How many webinars have you been on today?
You get to spend it with us. Just to let you guys know, we know that you guys have a couple of different webinars to attend on Wednesdays. We're going to be looking at how to break that up. We may go on a different day, so you don't have to allocate 2 hours in a day to attend a webinar. We want to be sensitive to your time as well. So we might change things up in going forward. have it on a separate day. CCAS specific, if for all you folks that really are interested in contact center selling it. It's a high revenue stream. It's a solution sell. We're here to help you sell it. The whole idea is just supporting you. So, are there any questions, Adam?
I think you did such a fulsome job in addressing the topic that we only have one. I can probably answer this
I want
myself.
you to read. Number, hold a second. I want you to read the question in the voice of one of the following: Bane, Batman, or Sean Connery from any of his movies.
Can I vote for Sean Connery?
Okay, Sean Connery.
Please.
Yeah.
Please do Sean. I can't do it, so that's why.
All right, hang on.
You got to get ready for this. Rick asked a question privately. I've answered him just in terms of contact info, Rick. So I gave you ours, but you'll get an email with some of this wrapped up at the end as well. Go ahead, Sean.
Adams, aka Sean, is going to read the question now.
Now, are we healthcare HIPAA compliant for healthcare customers?
I didn't even understand what he said, but I enjoyed it. That was good.
Yeah, me too.
He said something about healthcare, but we're not sure what it was.
It's HIPAA compliance, and I think the perfect answer,
HIPAA.
I believe that's HIP. What's the HIPAA, commentary is we are HIPAA enabled, because I think that's the right answer, because there are still components on the other side that have to be true in order to meet full HIPAA compliance. Is that accurate, Andrew?
We are so compliant. It's another insane thing. We are way beyond HIPAA, actually.
HIPAA, it's just HIPAA, you know, it's just a medical standard, U.S. based. In Canada, we have PIPEDA. There's some elements of HIPAA. We're actually PCI compliant, which is in fact more stringent than HIPAA, but we are HIPAA compliant as well. Here's the deal with HIPAA, guys. It's just a 5-letter acronym that somebody made up and we all adhere to.
The marketing guy did it.
But yeah, of course he did. There's a million other HIPAA-like acronyms as well. But the deal is the way we store data and the way the data is accessed is HIPAA compliant. But if you have a rogue nurse who downloads call recordings and starts sharing medical information from a customer, that is that we can't control. But access and storage, HIPAA compliant. And Joe, you mentioned New York Presbyterian.
I just laughed because you said rogue nurse. I'm thinking of rogue.
That's actually we should that's a great idea for a movie, Rogue Nurse.
I know.
And then Rogue Nurse 2, Rogue Nurse 3, The Return of the Rogue Nurse. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, the HIPAA compliance is a big deal. In any medical account that you're adjacent that you talk to, we are compliant and we can provide the AOCs, which are attestations of compliance. Yes. These are scans we get done on our data centers to prove that we are indeed HIPAA.
Listen, we take the compliance thing so seriously. We actually have a use case document that talks about our compliance. It's called Maintaining High Compliance Standards in Healthcare. Seriously, we can make that available to you.
Written by marketing.
Yeah, written by us. When I told you guys about the marketing geniuses, I wasn't kidding, eh?
It's true. And again, a marketing guy came up with HIPAA, right? So I think that's fantastic.
That's okay, man. It's creativity.
And humility.
Is there anything else? Humble. Anything else, folks?
I think that is it.
Awesome. And under time.
Thank you.
Under time. You guys get 6 minutes back in your day. And now Peter Cachet can go back to work and do something useful for the day. All right.
Awesome. Call the 200 people on this webinar. We appreciate it.
That's right. Anyway. We can call all 6,500 people that attended this. All right. Thanks, so thank you, folks. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody who attended. And we will see you again in a couple weeks.
Slide deck is coming, guys. I don't know if it's sent automatically, but it'll be there shortly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care of that.
We'll get it out.
Take care, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Later.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Joe.
Take care.